Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. So before we dive into today's episode, which is talking about the latest part of the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 2, and also just catching up on the latest gossip on what is going on with the girls, what's going on for next season, who's in, who's out, all of it. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And also, if you're watching live, be sure to say hi in the chat box. Where are you watching from? Who's your favorite? Who slayed? Who didn't slay? Who do you want to see back? Who have you had enough of? Put it down in the chat box. Let's have a fun discussion. So with that, let's dive right on in. So first, I think what I'll do is I will go through all of the ladies for the reunion, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff that's coming up, like Mia saying, Gordon drained her bank accounts, Wendy having a surprise beef with Tamra Judge and Teddy Mellencamp, something Carlos King has said, and more. So let's first talk about reunion in part 2. I'll go down the line and talk about each person. So Ashley, to me, the reunion, it's almost like, and I feel the same way about Nneka. So I might do Ashley and Nneka at the same time because I kind of have the same comment for both. I get that both of them are sitting at the end, but I feel like if Ashley and Nneka had not shown up to the reunion would still be exactly the way it is. Like, Ashley has said nothing. Nneka has also said nothing. Like, what have they actually contributed to this reunion? And both in 2 parts are done. So if you're coming in part 3 trying to save your spot, to me, it's too little too late. Nneka was a part of 0 conversations. Ashley was maybe a part of 1.5 conversations, but nothing that actually made any impact or no new information. To me, Ashley just kind of sat there and was just sort of her same messy self. She's really nobody's friend. She brought nothing to the reunion, and she really didn't bring anything to the season, to be honest with you. And then Nneka, I agree with what Mia said. It looks like she's just sitting there watching the show. Like, she could be a viewer at home with popcorn with me watching it, because she hasn't said not one word during the whole thing. And the thing is, I also feel with Nneka, and I might as well just jump to Nneka now because I'm doing Nneka and Ashley at the same time. When it comes to her, this really rubbed me the wrong way. And I do have some video clips that we can watch together. But what really rubbed me the wrong way with Nneka wasn't actually from her. It was from her husband. It always just rubs me the wrong way. It bothers my spirit. Something is off when a man wants to cuss out women. Very, very similar to Marcus Jordan at the Miami reunion when he was with Larsa, talking about, oh man, like, I wish I was on that stage and these women couldn't even wash the dishes in my house and blah, blah, just going, like, popping off, on women. And it's, to me, that's just the most off-putting, disturbing, psychotic, like, how you doing, but on a different side situation. And when Nneka's husband, I don't even know what his name is, was like, don't make me have to speak for you. I can't wait to get up there. I'm going to speak for you. And I have the clip and we'll play it a little bit later. Really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, why are you more hyped? Why are you more upset? Why do you want to be in women's faces like that? It just rubbed me the whole wrong way. So at this point, I'm like, Nneka and her weird ass husband can both go. I actually like Nneka. I do. I think she came in too hot. I think she fought the battle against Wendy, which should have been Ashley. She kind of pulled an Anna Marie where she was fighting somebody else's battle and being somebody else's mouthpiece, when she should have just focused on being herself and creating authentic relationships with all of the women. And now with her, and also very similar to Anna Marie, her husband, Marcus, is out here, or Marcellus, whatever the hell his name is also out here to cussing women out on Twitter. Oh, Gizelle, you're confused. You put the con in confused and blah, 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 and Crystal, da, 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 da. Again, when grown men or any man wants to cuss out or go toe to toe with a woman, miss me with all of that. So Anna Marie's husband, miss me with that. And we know the allegations against you. Okay. So we see you, sir. Marcus, Marcus Jordan, we see you, sir. Broke up with Larsa because I guess that PR relationship is over and the podcast was a flop. So I get it. The season is over. So I'm sure that's why they broke up, because the contract was over. And then now Nneka's husband, miss me with that. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of miss Michael Darby. He brought a particular type of weird mess to the show. I kind of miss Michael and Juan's bromance that they had going on and kind of what they brought to the show. I know that might be an unpopular opinion and might be a little weird for that, but I was kind of I wish Michael Darby and Juan were here, because at least they are entertaining. You know what I mean? I really, really, at least they're entertaining. And honestly, the most entertaining thing about Ashley is Michael Darby. When you really think about it, all of Ashley's storylines have been around Michael's restaurants, Michael's cheating, their fake divorce. Because like I said before, I don't think they're actually separated, and I don't think they're getting divorced. I think they're very much together. I think they very much have the same exact understanding in their marriage when it comes to he can have sex with who he wants to have sex with, and so can she. I think he bought her that house not because they're divorcing, but he bought her that house to film in because she still wanted to be on the show. I think they had an arrangement. She would stand by him. She would not malign him. And she would still sort of be his PR mouthpiece if he allowed her to stay on the show. That's what I think it is. I don't see any divorce. And she said it in part 1 that she rubs his feet every night. What woman who is genuinely about to divorce someone, living in her own alleged own home, maybe he's still paying for it, but it's her own space, rubbing her soon-to-be ex-husband's feet every night? I don't think so, boo-boo. They're clearly still together. And I think that their marriage has always been an agreement, arrangement, understanding, which, to be honest with you, all marriage is that. That's why you sign a marriage license, because it's a contract. And all relationships have rules and understandings and boundaries. So I'm not actually judging whatever, boundaries and agreements they have in their marriage. I'm not judging that. I think you live your life the way you want to live it. You want to be monogamous? Cool. You want to be polyamorous? Cool. You want to be celibate? Cool. You want to do whatever? Cool. You like it? You love it? You like it? I love it. Whatever that saying is. Cool. So I'm not actually judging their lifestyle by any means, but I am calling out that I don't think she's being honest about the dynamics of their marriage and lifestyle. And I think he wanted to get off the show. And I kind of miss him. I don't miss any, alleged essays or inappropriate touching. I don't miss that. But there is something kind of enjoyably creepy about Michael and Juan together that I kind of miss. Maybe it's just me. Okay, Wendy. I like Wendy. I do. I like her. But the thing is, it's getting a little repetitive. All of the fights are just the same over and over and over again. It's the same colorism comment. It's the same, Nneka, you called my mom a witch into a shrine. It's the same over and over and over and over and over again. And she kind of has Candiace's back, but she kind of doesn't have her back. They're definitely aligned, but sometimes she's like, but Candiace, you can say this. And it's almost just don't say anything, have her back and just be neutral kind of. So I like Wendy, but I'm kind of what else could she bring? And not just the reunion. I'm talking about the show at this point. What could she bring to the show at this point that's an actual value add? Because I do think I love her relationship with Eddie. I love her children. She has a different job and a different brand every single season. There was Candles. There was the next Black Martha Stewart. There was, You know, when she first came on, she was Wendy with the 4 degrees. I'm a professor, I'm a professor, I'm a professor. The next season, she was wearing Sheen and Forever 21 and busting it wide open and pop jocking and locking it. And she got all the plastic surgery. Again, no judgment, just saying how she's evolved. But I'm not sure the evolution is enjoyable at this point. I don't not like her. And I do like watching her family. And I do think that brings something to it. But I feel it's a little stale at this point. I would want something just a little bit more to pop with her, maybe something different. Okay, but let's go back to Ashley because I forgot to add this because I want to talk about the fight at the end of the season with Deborah Cookie Monster against Candiace. And then the girl, I think her name was Kia or Kay, got hit. I also want Ashley to be fired or let go because, like I said, I don't think Ashley's really bringing anything to the show anymore, and she's not being authentic or real. You know, if we're going to call out Robin for lying about her relationship, we also need to call out Ashley because I think she's clearly lying about her relationship. But I also think she needs to be fired because of bringing Deborah to the season finale party. Now, I said this before and I'll say it again. I personally think that Deborah came there with the intention to jump Candiace. Whether or not, and I mean physically jump Candiace, I think Deborah came there with the intent to fight Candiace. Now, whether or not Ashley, and again, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying this is a fact because I don't want Cookie Monster coming over here. My name is Candy, but I will knock you out, Cookie Monster, so leave me alone. So not physically knock you out. I just mean like go away. Okay. And I have to say that because these women are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay. Whether or not Ashley knew that Deborah was coming to lay hands on Candiace, and I'll explain why I think that in a second, but whether or not Ashley knew that Deborah was coming to lay hand on Candiace or not, I do think that Ashley knew Deborah was going to start something with Candiace or egg her on or provoke her in some way. Ashley playing dumb, like, I just thought I could invite my friends and like it's a big place and everybody could come and get along. Like, girl, stop it. And then for her to blame Candiace for the fight, which in this situation, Candiace literally was just talking to Wendy, is ridiculous. And we have in the audio that Cookie Monster came to Candiace and started with her. So if somebody gets out of their seat and comes into your space with the intent to start with you, they clearly are the aggressor and they clearly are the person who started it. Also, Ashley's very hypocritical with this because don't forget that back when Candiace and Monique got into a fight, it was, oh, Candiace's mouth got her in trouble. Her mouth. Now, I personally think with Candiace and Monique, it was more than just Candiace's mouth that got her in trouble. I think it was something that was building up and there was multiple factors in that. But that's something Ashley was saying because they were all team Monique, right? Or team Candiace against Monique. But then now Ashley is like, oh, well, Candiace was talking about Cookie Monster and that's why her mouth or whatever. So it's like, well, wait a minute. You know, it's okay for Cookie Monster to hit Candiace over her mouth, but it wasn't okay for Monique to hit Candiace over her mouth. The difference being is not that you like Monique more than Deborah, it's that you hated Monique more than you liked Candiace, but now you like Deborah more than you like Candiace. You see? Crazy. So Ashley missed me with that. And I think that she should be on pause or fired for bringing Deborah there. And then also for, in my opinion, lying about her life. All right. Now let's move on to Candiace. Now, Candiace, baby girl. A couple of things with this. And I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. I feel like with Candiace, she's grown on me way more than when she first came on the scene. I did not like Candiace at all. I thought she was very spoiled, and I thought that she was very emotionally immature, and it was just kind of exhausting to watch, to be perfectly honest. But she grew on me. She was going to therapy, she was working on herself, and she was getting mentally tougher and emotionally more mature. And she started to really grow on me. With that being said, I'm kind of over the crying and the crying triangles and the being so upset I can't talk and oh my god and I'm so affected by everything. Like that has also become exhausting. So I'm kind of over that aspect of her. I do like the fact that she is still staying on Gizelle's and Robin's neck about everything, but I have to say I kind of don't respect her because it still feels like she really still wants that validation from Robin and Gizelle to like her and to want to be friends with her. Because I don't agree with Robin herself as a human being. Like, just everything Robin is just, ugh, you know what I mean? But I do agree with her sentiment saying, well, if you think that I would do something to set your husband up, why do you want to be friends with me? You know? And I agree with that because if you go on national television and you scheme and you scam and you call my husband basically someone who would force a woman to do something against her will or force a woman into a place where she felt, quote, uncomfortable or whatever bizarre BS nonsense that they were trying to spin, you would be dead to me forever and a day. Forever and a day. Point blank, period. There wouldn't be any crying. There wouldn't be any, oh my gosh, I can't believe Robin would do this to me. We were such good friends. No, there would be none of that. I would be like, I see you and I see you forever. And every time I see you, you can catch one. Like, no, like, I don't think so. Like, you're dad to me forever and a day, and it is what it is. Now, could we keep it cute and cordial? Because now we're coworkers and we need to film scenes and I want to go get this Bravo check, 100%. I can keep it cute. I can keep it cordial. But would I ever want to rock with you again in life? Do I need to sit here and cry as a grown adult woman over somebody who clearly does not give a damn about me, my family, or my life? Absolutely not. And so I kind of just want to say, buck the hell up, Candiace. Buck up, sweetheart. Wake up. You are beautiful. You have a husband who loves you. You have a supportive family. You have a great career outside of housewives. But yet you're sitting on this stage. Yes, you're wordsmithing and reading and all of this and that. But to be honest with you, you're actually sitting there crumbling because these two miserable women who don't have a quarter of what you got going on wants to hate on you. That to me is the biggest what the hell is going on in this situation. Because to be perfectly honest with you, Candiace has more going on than probably any other woman on the couches. To be honest with you, she has more going on than all of them. She has a better career than Nneka. She has a man, unlike the majority of the women. You know what I'm saying? She has all this other stuff going. She has consistency, unlike Wendy. Like, she has a lot going on. And it pains me that, to me, Candiace's biggest weakness is her own lack of self-worth and lack of self-esteem. Because if you actually had an ounce of self-worth and self-esteem, you wouldn't give a damn to ever check for Robin and Gizelle to apologize to you and to want to be friends with you again and to explain things to you. Not ever. Not ever. Now, it has been put into question whether or not Candiace left on her own accord or whether or not she was fired. Now, let's hear what Carlos King had to say about it, and then we can talk about it. Okay? Here we go.
You think Candiace quit or got fired? You're the producer.
Oh, honey, I just don't think people quit. I think it has to be a very drastic situation.
I don't
for
think you
people to
try
quit.
that hard at the reunion and then quit.
It's no surprise that a Candy, a Portia, a Bethany, a Lisa Vanderpump, these women who are like millionaires are like, I don't need it. I don't think quitting Housewives is on anyone's bingo card.
Yeah, no.
So, what do you guys think about that? Do you agree with Carlos King that you think that she must have been fired and that she didn't actually quit? Or do you think that no, she quit on her own accord and that's just his opinion, but it doesn't make sense and you believe that she quit? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why she would have quit and should have quit. One, I think to me, the number one reason why I think she would have quit is to save her marriage. I think that if, for all things, if I were Candiace, I would be way more concerned about saving my marriage with my husband than I would with whether or not Robin wants to be friends with me or whether or not, Gizelle apologizes to me. And then also the show was getting dangerous for Candiace. She was being sued by Michael Darby. We know that case got dismissed, but still, she was being set up to be, beat up basically. Oh, that's right. Let me get back to what I was saying. I thought she was set up. And let me know what you guys think about it. The reason why I think that Deborah came to fight Candiace is because Deborah approached Candiace off camera. And when everyone was like, oh, Deborah came for attention, she came for a moment. Well, if you came for attention and if you came for a moment, then you do your shenanigans on camera because you want it to be caught on camera. You want it to be filmed. You want it to be documented. You want it to be shown. But the fact that Deborah waited until when she thought the camera crew was down and they were wrapped for the day, because remember, they only had mics still rolling, whether or not they were actually mic'd up or whether or not it was just producers leaving the mics on. I think it was the producers being shady and like just leaving the mics on the way they did with like Bolo and all the other stuff, because they always want to get those hot mic moments. So Deborah doesn't know that she's being recorded with the audio, because at that point they had wrapped. It was wrapped. The camera's down. They think they're done. So if someone's coming to get attention, you're going to show out when the cameras are on. But if you wait until you think the cameras are down and done to step to her, like we heard in the audio, to me, that means you actually came with not just I want a moment on TV, but you came with the I'm coming to get this chick. I'm coming to get this shit, this chick. So yeah, so I personally think that Deborah came with that agenda. Now, when it comes to Candiace, I personally think Candiace quit. I don't think she was fired. I think she quit. I think she quit to save her mind. I think she also quit to save her reputation or career, whatever you want to call that. And I also think she quit because it just became really dangerous for her. That's what I think. I do wish that I didn't know she quit until after the reunion. Like now I kind of understand why the producers always say like we don't tell people if they're coming back or not until after the reunion airs. So that's kind of where I kind of landed on that. I wish I didn't know that. I wish I didn't know that Robin was allegedly leaving too. Now, do we think Robin was fired or do we think Robin quit? It's been reporting that Robin and Candiace are both leaving. I, in my mind, would think Robin's fired. But again, they say they don't announce, that the producers themselves don't say who's coming back until after the reunion airs. So I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? But I think if of the two, I think it would be Robin who was fired. And I think that Candiace quit. That's kind of where I land on that. But I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. And to be honest with you, I think whether she was let go or whether she quit, again, I think she quit. I think it's the right choice because I think that this particular franchise, with a lot of the other ones, but this one as well, rather, not particular, but as well, has gotten toxic and dangerous on too many levels. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, people are going broke being on these shows. Look at Gordon and Mia, and we're about to get to her in a second. But physically as well, because everything that happened with Cookie Monster, if I was Kia, I don't really believe in suing unless you really want to. But if I was Kia, I would sue the hell out of Bravo, out of NBC, out of Ashley, out of Cookie Monster, because she was the most innocent person and she ended up getting knocked in the head and having to go to the hospital and get stitches in her forehead. You know what I'm saying? And she was just sort of like an innocent bystander, gotten, in the crossfires. So there's that. But I think that this particular franchise needs to be put on a major pause. And I honestly think everybody could be fired except for Karen. But honestly, I think even Karen should be put on a pause because I thought about it. I love Karen, but this whole DUI stuff, it's given, and I also think the same thing that I think Shannon Bedore should have been put on pause. I think people getting these DUIs and reckless driving and these accidents and leaving the scene of the crime and not taking breathalyzers and all this stuff, they need to be put on pause. Like, I don't know. It's almost like that stuff is like rewarded. And people are like, oh, they're going to talk about it next season. Now they have a storyline. Again, I don't want to see these not elderly, but like at any age. I'm not trying to age shame. I didn't mean it that way, but they're just older. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to judge ages, but like, I don't want to keep seeing these women getting DUIs and that is now juicy storylines. Like, that's not what I'm tuning in for. That's not what I want to watch a show, to have these women talk about their drinking problems and thankfully, thank God, not hurting anybody or themselves. But these DUIs with Shannon and with Karen, Shannon Bedore from the OC, they could have ended very differently. They could have ended in them dying, and them killing or hurting or injuring somebody else. Like, this isn't funny. Like, to me, people driving under the influence and driving into people's houses, which Shannon did, driving into like weird stuff. Like, it's, to me, that shouldn't be fodder for a season. That shouldn't be storyline. To me, that should be, these women need help. Clearly they have in my opinion, I believe alcoholism is a disease. It's scientific. I'm not debating that. It is what it is. If you don't believe that, keep that opinion to yourself, to be perfectly honest. But these women have a disease. They have an addiction. Now, if we want storyline to be, how can these women take accountability for themselves? How can they share their story of addiction? Because if you're getting DUIs, you have a problem. A problem. So if you have an addiction, if you are an addict, and by addict, I mean addicted to alcohol, that is an addiction. If their storyline is about them getting help in a way that is authentic and genuine, that could maybe save somebody else, okay, fine. But that has to be the narrative. It can't be Giselle's gonna drag Karen and call her a drunk and blah, 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 blah. And Tamara's gonna, clap back at Shannon because she's drunk and John. And that's like, if it's that, then like miss me with it. But if it's actually a narrative where people can say, you know what, I see myself in that person, maybe I should get some help. Or you know what, that's how my mother is, or that's how my father is, or that's how my best friend is, or that's how I am, and it gets somebody some help, then yes, fine. But that's the way it has to be. Other than that, miss me with the BS, to be perfectly honest. Now let's go to, and let's finish up Candiace first, because now we gotta talk about Chris Bassett. My heart goes out to Chris Bassett. I think he is such a really nice, genuine person. I don't understand why Robin felt the need to bring up some fake nudes that he allegedly sent. Like, girl, worry about where Juan is or where Juan isn't. The fact that Robin had the audacity to even try to even go against and bring up whatever against Chris. Like, Robin, why are you arguing with Chris? Like, hush up, close your mouth, be quiet. Go figure out who Juan is doing at the current moment, because it ain't you, sweetheart. Like, it's ridiculous. I felt really bad for Chris. I feel like the whole storyline and everything that happened to him, I feel like it's really affected his marriage with Candiace. I feel that their marriage is not in a great place. And I think that's why she's put the halt on having a child. I don't think it has anything to do with her acting career. I think it has to do with whether or not her and Chris are able to weather the storm as a couple. And I feel really bad for him, and he needs vindication. But I would never, ever let somebody knock me from my position who could never match me on any type of level. And I'm talking about Gizelle. Now, let me see if I can find this snippet where they're talking about it. One sec. You know what? I'll do all the clips at the end. We can watch him and talk about him. But what I'm referring to is how Chris was saying, like, oh, I wasn't wanted, so I stayed away this season. I'm not going to go where I'm wanted. And Andy's like, oh, Candiace didn't want you. She's like, no, I did. But he's like, but they didn't want me. I would never in life let anybody like a Gizelle or a Robin stop me from going anywhere on God's green earth that I wanted to go. Again, I don't understand Chris and Candiace. Why are they so... let me see how I can explain this. Chris seems so hurt by Gizelle and Robin, and he seemed so like, well, they don't want me around, so I'm not going to come around. What? When are they the boss? Who made them the boss of you? Ain't no way in hell that Robin and Gizelle can make me stop going anywhere I wanted to go. Absolutely not. No chick like them could ever knock me from a position, ever, and be that sad over it. Now, do I get his anger over what Gizelle, the accusations and the insinuations that she said about him and how that had consequences in his life? That I understand 100%. Being angry about that and wanting her to be accountable to that. And then also being like, Robin, we know you women have the history of getting together and saying, who are we taking down this season? Who are we going to go after? So it's actually not that far-fetched that you guys sat around and said, it's Candiace takedown season. So let's go after her marriage. Let's go after Chris. Let's go after her. So we don't actually have to talk about our own crumbling lives. You know what I mean? That's not that far-fetched. So I understand them wanting to hold them accountable for their lies and their misdirections and their projections and their insinuations. But to me, it's almost seems like both Candiace and Chris like still want some type of validation from them or some type of something from them. Just accept the fact that these people don't like you and they've never liked you. But that is not an indictment on who you are as a person. That is more of an indication of how lacking they are because they don't like you out of their own jealousy of you. That's really what it is. But Candiace and Chris, and I forgot who said this, and this is so true, and I've experienced this in my own life. When people are jealous of you and they do you wrong, it feels like hate. That's what, to feel and experience the jealousy of somebody else, it feels like they hate you. So you'll be like, why does this person hate me? Why don't they like me? I've never done anything to them. They're doing this to me. They're doing that to me. And unless you are truly emotionally evolved and you have yourself as your center and you got your self-love up, if you're not coming from that place, the default mindset is, what is it about me that makes them hate me? What is it about me that makes them not like me? Why don't you like me? Why do you hate me? Even though it's actually their own jealousy that they're projecting onto you. If you're not really rooted in a deep level of self-love, because your mind always wants to know why. Your mind always wants to create a story. And the core of every story is the why of the story. Well, why? Well, why? Well, why? And that's why you get Chris, who is this grown man, who I think is actually a pretty great person, to be honest. He seems great. He clearly loves Candiace. Seems like he's doing the best he can. He's a chef. He's doing everything. He's always been respectful to both the husbands and the women. He seems like a really great guy. So when these women attack him, who he thinks are his friends, and then he comes out looking like, well, if you don't want me around, then I'm not going to go where I'm wanted. What? It's not that they don't want you around, Chris. They probably want you, because ain't none of them got any type of man who gives half of a damn about them the way you give about Candiace. That's why they were hating on you when you were trying to help Candiace with her career, when you were supporting her, when you were being her husbandager and you were trying to get everything together, you were trying to manage her and help her in a genuine way. Because name one man that Gizelle or Robin has ever shown that has actually supported them in any genuine way. Name one man that Gizelle or Robin has ever brought around or had that has genuinely loved them and respected them and hasn't embarrassed them and made them look absolutely stupid out here on national television. I will wait. But Chris has never done that to Candiace, ever. Even in their little fights, she's meaner to him than he is to her. He has her back 100%. So it's not that they hate you, it's that they are jealous of you. And when you don't understand why somebody is treating you a bad way, it feels like hate. And because you feel like someone hates you, it feels like an injustice. And you want to know, why do you feel this way? I diverge, but that's really what's going on in this situation. And I just want both Candiace and Chris to not just performatively say, Gizelle, Robin, whatever, we see you, but from an authentic place, say, you can kiss my whole butt and I really don't care, because I see who you are, I know who I am, and you don't deserve to be within my space. Because whether you like Candiace or not, she has a lot going on in her life. Whether you like Chris or not, from everything I have seen, he seems to be a really good guy. And if you look at Gizelle and if you look at Robin, come on. Come on. And it's unfortunate, but that happens a lot with people, where the most miserable people make the people who actually got stuff going on start to feel bad and doubt themselves, because for whatever reason, they want to be validated by these miserable people. You see what I'm saying? So absolutely not. Miss me with all of that. Now let's talk about messy ass Mia. Ugh. Ugh, 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 ugh. Mia, I can't with you. I have been a Gordon stan since day one. I love me some G. I love me some Gordon. Now I'm gonna be honest though. Just because I like Gordon, there are things I still have to call out, and we are gonna then compartmentalize them. I'm gonna call out the fact that Gordon was married when he was cheating on his wife and messing with Mia. I'm gonna call out that he may or may not, again, this is opinion because I know that they're going illegal stuff, may or may not have been doing a little bit of dipping into the family business piggy bank when he should not have been. And maybe that's why he got ousted and fired. I don't know. It hasn't been really clear exactly what was going on there, but maybe something not up to snuff. I don't know. So those things are true. Or, well, not true. Opinion out there. Well, true about him cheating on his wife because Mia said it, how she was the other chick and they went to the beach in Miami and he was married and all that stuff. And it is true that he was fired from the family business for shady money stuff, allegedly. So with all of that being said, I still like Gordon. And I think that Gordon fell for Mia. And I think that he was living maybe out of his means because he thought that is what he had to do in order to keep her. He even was like, I turned 70, I had prostate issues, which kind of translates into he probably had some health issues in his male area and maybe wasn't able to perform sexually. And so he said, I get it, you're young, I have these issues. If you want to dip out of the marriage, you can do that. Just do it respectfully. Just don't embarrass me and don't bring it around the children. So to me, this seems like a man who wants to please and keep his wife. I know what goes around comes around, and karma is a bee. And, you always buy what you pay for. You get what you pay for. So if you bought Mia and you knew what she was about, well, you got what you paid for. So is it that shocking that now the money is gone and now this guy Inc. that was just using her, in my opinion, he was just using her for sex for years? Because if he really loved her and wanted to be with her, he would have been with her. Like this, I don't know how she's trying to do this whole narrative of we were high school sweethearts and he was always the one, and I was always his and he was just waiting for me. No ma'am, he was just using you for sex, and he was seeing if he could find someone better than you who he actually wanted to be with. Because newsflash, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but if a guy is having sex with you but he's not committing to you, he's not claiming you, he doesn't care that you are sleeping with other people, that you have a whole husband, you have a whole family for years on years on years, and while he goes out there and he's clearly having sex with other women, dating other women, having a complete life, he is simply using you for sex because you let him. Again, it does not a reflection of your actual self-worth or worthiness or value. It is a reflection of how you feel about your worthiness. And those are two different things, because no matter what, you are good enough and you are worthy and you are valuable and you deserve the best in this world, no matter what. That doesn't mean that you actually see yourself that way. And when you don't see yourself that way, you end up like a Mia out here looking absolutely hella crazy. Trying to convince, I'm sorry, but you're not going to piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. You're not going to convince me that Mia and Inc. are a love story. This is a man who used you for sex for years, never claimed you, never fought for you. And the moment you got on a TV show, now all of a sudden he wants to claim you and be with you. Why? Because he's a rapper DJ personality who wants to be on The Real Housewives and get his career popping. Now he wants to claim you. And don't act like, oh, because now me and Gordon are divorced. I'm confused with that one, because you were having sex with this man before you met Gordon. You were having sex with this man when you were married to Gordon. So during the last 20 plus years, he never had the inkling, the conviction, the want or the need to claim you until now you're on a television show. Girl, bye. Girl, bye. And this is the most disgusting part. The most disgusting part. Two parts is actually the most disgusting part. Is her son Jeremiah that she shares with Gordon. Number one, the first disgusting part was that it took Karen, who is not even this child's mother or father, to say, we're not talking about children. Children are off limits because this child is going to have to watch this one day. Mia had no problem. First of all, Wendy was the one who brought it up, but Mia had no problem talking about it. Andy Cohen, we all know how he rolls. He had no problem discussing it either. But Karen was the one who was like, well, wait a minute. This little boy one day is going to watch this. And does he even know that there's this big question mark around his paternity? So that was the first kind of disgusting thing, where it's like his mother didn't feel the need to protect him, but Karen did. And I'm kind of looking at you, crazy Wendy, because Wendy was the one who brought the rumor to the show, I believe, at least in the reunion on the table. I don't know if people were talking about it before, but Wendy was the one who brought it up because she was saying, Gordon said that Ink was coming to the house trying to take Jeremiah. Now, me personally, if I'm a housewife, there are certain things I'll bring to a show and there's certain things I wouldn't. I'm going to give Wendy the benefit of the doubt that she maybe in that moment didn't understand the ramifications of what she's saying. Because like Karen said, that child is going to watch this one day. That child's friends at school is going to watch this one day. And if they're not communicating with their children, he's going to go to school tomorrow and the kids are going to be like, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? You don't know who your daddy. You know what I mean? You know how cruel kids can be. I'm going to give Wendy the benefit of the doubt because I don't think Wendy is a malicious person. I think she's boring at this point, a little redundant, but I don't think that Wendy is a malicious person, that she was doing it with the intention to hurt a child. I think she was probably just talking. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes you just talk about crap and you kiki and you want to spill the tea and you want to get people out, but you're not actually connecting the true ramifications of what's going on. I think that's what happened with Wendy, why she brought it to the show. I don't think she did it in any type of malicious way because I don't get that spirit from her. Now, but I'm going to tell you what's actually really disgusting and clear as day to me. Again, this is just what I think. I'm not saying this is a fact, but rock with me on this and let me know if this makes sense to you. So when they brought up the whole Jeremiah and Ink is now trying to get his son and all the paternity, the first thing I thought was, no. And they're like, could it be his son? And why would he do this? And Mia's like, well, maybe he wants him to be. And again, I was like, Mia, if I could hypothetically, theoretically, like shake some sense into you through the screen, I would, because again, Mia, you sound like the dumbest, weakest woman on the freaking planet. And I'm not calling names. I'm actually being genuine when I say that. And it's very disgusting because number one, you're not going to tell me this is some long lost love story and make other women out there think that letting a man use them for sex, that somehow that is their Romeo and Juliet story. No, it's not. He's using you for sex and he's going to jump off you onto the next and just let it go. So stop with that. But then when she said, well, maybe he wants him to be referring to her child, I wanted to shake some sense into her because no, Mia, it's not that Ink wants Jeremiah to be his son because he wants to be a father to that child. I'm going to tell you what it's really about. What it's always been about with Ink, from what I can see, it's a thing we like to call money. And by that, I mean child support. Because let me break it to you. There are men out there, and I'm not being sexist. I'm just calling our world the way it is. We live in a patriarchal system. It is what it is. There are men out there, believe it or not, who have no problem having a child with a woman in order to get money, child support, that weekly check. Yes, men are also after the bag, okay? Just like we want to say women are gold diggers and women want to get knocked up so then they can get child support and blah, 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 blah. The same way we bash women, not me in that way personally, but you know what I'm talking about as a society. There's a lot of men out there who have no problem either letting a woman support them financially, letting a woman give them money, letting a woman do all of that, and even, yes, letting the woman pay the man child support. And I'm going to tell you why I think that with Ink. I don't know how old Jeremiah is. Let's just say he's between the ages of 8 and 12, right? I think that's about right. It's probably around 8 to 12. Let's say that. For shits and giggles, let's just say he's 10. Let's just say he's 10. Doesn't matter. He could be 2 years old. He could be 22. Let's just say he's 10. So for the last 10 years of this child's life, this Inc. person had no desire to get a paternity test, had no desire to be a father to this son, had no desire to provide for his son, had no desire to protect his son, had no desire to be a presence in his son's life for the child's entire life. Because you're saying that Inc. thought that this boy was his forever since there's overlap, but for the last 10 years of this child's life, he has had zero desire to be a part of it or to support his child. But now, all of a sudden, Mia is out here talking about all this little coins she's making. She's on a reality show on Bravo. She has this, that, and a third going on. She has all this money. She has all this fame. She has all this access. Now, all of a sudden, he wants to come and get his son. Why? Because trust and believe, if it turns out that this child is his, and I hope it's not, I hope it's Gordon's, is his, then he could say, well, I want custody. I want my parental rights, and I want her to pay me. I want child support. Because I'm telling you right now, this guy, Inc., doesn't actually care about being a father to this child. He cares about that this child could be a paycheck for him, and this child could be a way for him to be on TV. Because it's like that saying, that meme out there. I don't believe it 100% of the time because there's always nuance to things. But it's like, oh, if he wanted to, he would. I'm sure we've all seen that meme. I don't believe that 100%. But I think when it comes to children and parents, if he had wanted to be a father to that child, he would have been a father to his child. Because you have to think about what circumstances have changed. Has the circumstance of Inc. believing that this child was his has changed? Apparently not. Apparently he always thought it was his. So has what circumstance has changed? Mia now has her own money, allegedly. Mia is now on a television show with a national platform. Those are the things that have fundamentally changed. And now Inc. wants to be in her life. Now Inc. wants to be a father to his alleged child. But yet he has still to do a court-ordered paternity test. But he wants to, allegedly, I'll say, go to this man's house and take the child that this man has loved and supported, tucked in at night, kept fed, kept clothed, got him off to school, paid for everything, showed up, because Gordon does seem like a very present, great father, all of those things. And to be quite honest with you, the whole thing about Gordon being a freak and wanting to do threesomes, I always got the feeling that that was Gordon trying to keep Mia pleased. Because like he said, he had prostate issues. So what man what person who was dealing with issues in your sexual places, it sounds like he couldn't even have sex, is that infatuated with doing threesomes and all this and that and third. It seems more like he was doing all of those things to keep Mia interested. Because he even said it with Inc. Well, you can still have Inc. You can do that. You can still do what you want. Just don't bring it around the kids. Just don't leave me. So all of that stuff about the threesomes and the sex sounds to me more like a man who felt sexually inadequate for his wife. And so he wanted to be like the cool husband who was down with everything to keep her sexually satisfied so she wouldn't leave him. And I feel like Mia never loved Gordon. And when she said, maybe I married him for money, maybe I did, I think that was the truest thing that has ever come out of her mouth that we've ever seen. And I think now that Mia can survive financially without him, that's why I think Mia is out. I think she's using a lot of excuses. I don't think it has anything to do with the business. I don't think it has anything to do with how Gordon is acting. I think that Gordon is depressed, which they've talked about. I think he's depressed because he got exposed for whatever was going on with the money, or if his family was just jealous and they wanted to put a kibosh on it. whatever's going on with his family and the legal issues and the money, he's depressed with that. I think he's also depressed that I think his worst fear has come true. I think he's always known that Mia was with him for the money. And I bet you that's a big reason why he got in his financial jam in the first place, trying to keep someone, right? And so I think that his worst fears are coming to light. My wife doesn't love me for me. She loves me for the money. And now that the money's gone, she's going to leave me. And I think that's a lot of his depression, is that his biggest insecurity is not just being shown to him, but it's being shown to the entire world. All right. So I think that's really what's going on with them. And my heart goes out to the children because, you know, adults are cruel as hell. All you have to do is go onto Twitter to see how cruel people can be. And children can also be cruel because unfortunately our children learn from adults. And my heart goes out to her kids. And I hope that they are in therapy. I hope Gordon gets his own paternity test just so he can have legal claim to his child without drama. Because if he gets that paternity test, then he can say, Ink, get the hell out of my face and get out of my children's life. And I do think that Gordon is right to want boundaries to protect his children. He was like, oh yeah, the boys were like, why does mommy want to replace you with Ink? Why is she sleeping over with Ink? Like, that's very confusing and hurtful and traumatizing for children. And now, unfortunately, and I hope I'm reporting on this with compassion and understanding, because I do think it's an important topic, but now the paternity of her children is fodder. And that has to really hurt that child. There are adults who still have deep emotional scars regarding paternity or their paternity or their, maternity with their biological, non-biological parents. Deep, like if it wasn't for those issues, there would be nobody in therapy. 99% of therapy is talking about how your parents messed you up. So there's that. And like, honestly, my heart goes out to the children. And Gordon, if you ever listen to this, get your own paternity test. So then you can have, without shadow of a doubt, claim to your children. Because Ink is looking at your son, Jeremiah, as a piggy bank and as a come up. The same way he's looking at Mia. Because to me, Mia is the type of chick who will use a, quote, good man. Again, Gordon is flawed. I'm not saying he isn't, because we all know he was cheating on his wife, and what goes around comes around, and how you get him is how you lose him, and karma is a B. I understand all of that. But even with that, I do think he was good to Mia. And I think Mia is the type of woman who will take everything from a good man and then will spend it all on a man who treats her like dirt. It's like she has the good guy, and she'll have like the good guy during the week, and then on the weekends she's going to go out and buy the bad guy, watches and money and this and clothes and cars and all this stuff with the good guy's money, when it's clear as day that guy doesn't like you. Just because he had sex with you for years and never claims you, just because he's pretending like this young child is his, but never once gave a damn to actually be a father to this child, until you got on a television show and you got some little coins. Wake up, Mia. Because I would hate for any woman or man watching her and use what the BS she is spewing as a way to justify themselves, allowing people to use them. Because that's all we're watching here. And to me, it was sick, and it was so sad and so twisted how Mia was sitting there on FaceTime with Ink, and then Gordon comes in and is like, hey man, what's up? Like this man wasn't having sex with your wife your entire marriage. And like this man was not trying to take your child from you for a payday. But yet Gordon, who now, in my personal opinion, has no self-esteem, He probably has no identity because he is lacking in his sexual department because of his health, and he lost his money. And as we all know, when it comes to men, their virility, their sense of manhood, their sense of self, their identity is so tied up into their sex and into their money. And when you strip a man of both of those things, you get someone like a Gordon now who looks completely lost and looks extremely depressed. And as much as Mia talks about the guy who stole from them taking his own life, I'm not saying I'm saying I hope this doesn't happen, but if you take a person in Gordon's position who they've talked about his depression and everything he has going on, why is Mia not worried about him? She seems to resent him for his mental health rather than trying to help him with his mental health. You were depressed and you were just laying on the couch and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, because he's mentally struggling right now. And every person on this planet, I don't care who you are, has gone through a depressive state. Doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that you suffer from depression, because they're two different things. You can be depressed situationally, like something's happened in your life and you become depressed in that moment, versus actually being like clinically depressed and you suffer from like depression. Those are two different things. Every person on this planet, I don't care who you are, if you've lived long enough, you have been depressed in your life. And to me, it just seems so sickening and cold and dismissive of Mia to emasculate him even further because he's been struggling with his mental health. Like, even if you want to divorce him, because I'm not saying you stay in a marriage if you're not in love, fine, divorce him. But you don't need to emasculate this man when he's already at his lowest point in life. He's having trouble having sex because of his prostate. He is completely estranged from his family. He's lost all of his money. He's lost his title, CEO or whatever he was. He's lost that. The paternity of his children, of his son, is being questioned. And he's struggling with his mental health. And then on a national platform, you have his wife, whether they're divorcing or not, completely clowning the hell out of him. That is so degrading and disgusting and really hard to watch. And I don't think people actually understand what they are actually watching. Because that's another thing that goes on. People aren't actually understanding what they're actually watching in front of their faces, because we're watching such toxicity and such destruction in our faces, but it's masqueraded as entertainment, as storyline, as a key, as she's a gold digging hoe. Well, yeah, she's a gold digging hoe, but actually look at the human ramifications of what's actually going on in front of our faces. And the true victims of this will be her children. And that is really, really disgusting and really crazy to watch. You know? Yikes. All right, now let's go to Karen. Okay, Karen, boo-boo. Okay, Karen. I like Karen. The only notes I have for Karen is put down the booze bottle and get some serious help. I don't want next season for it to be, I don't want to see them go on any type of spiritual retreat or go to church, or I don't know. I don't want Karen's illness and problem. I'm talking about the booze, the DUI. Because I don't think this is her first one, right? I think she's had more than one. I think. But one is enough. And the one she had, trust me, was enough. I don't want it to be sort of like how they do on Housewives when something big happens and they do like, let's do a retreat, an ayahuasca or Joshua tree. Let's light some sage. No. I want to, if you're going to return and you're going to make it a storyline, I want to see the real rawness of a person coming to terms with the fact that they have a problem, that they have an illness, because it is a sickness. If you cannot control how much you drink and then you get behind the wheel of a vehicle and you drive it, that is a sickness, because no healthy person would do that. So there would have to be some sort of true rawness of Karen coming to terms with her illness. And when I call it an illness, it's because I have compassion for anybody who's addicted to anything. People can have addiction to, sex videos that starts with a P word. People can have addictions to alcohol, to gambling, to sex, to drugs, obviously, to a lot of things. People can also be addicted to the toxicity of relationships. People who are always in on again, off again, tumultuous relationship, they're addicted to the unhealthiness of it. They get a high from it. That's why it's called a high versus a low. They're literally getting a high off of the drama. So people can be addicted to a lot of things. I also don't want it to be, we're going to drag Karen, we're going to call her the town drunk, and that's not helpful either. People don't get better. You can't shame a person into being healthy. You have to support them and have empathy and love and accountability. That will help someone get healthy, not shaming them or calling them a drunk or dragging them or trying to expose them. No, that's not what it's about. So that's my biggest note for Karen, is that, if she comes back, which I'm pretty sure she will, and I do really love Karen because I think she's fun. She's a vibe. I think she genuinely likes all of the women. And I can tell that she's really trying to keep the show alive and on the air. And she's trying to keep the women on the show. That's very, very clear that her agenda is to keep the show alive and not get put on pause, and to have all the women come back. That's very, very clear. I think she has a genuine love for all of the women, which is rare. It's very rare to see a housewife who genuinely loves the entire cast, and I think she does. But I would want to see that. And I don't want to see a, hired therapist for TV. If we're doing the therapy sessions, I want it to be with a therapist who, even though maybe they're saying, yes, this can be taped, but they're actually keeping it funky. They're keeping it accountable. They're not sugarcoating and just feeding into a narrative that the person wants to do. It's not a PR episode for the person. It's not Erica Jane's therapist. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not that. It's a real therapist who's going to be 100% funky with it. If it's that, then that's something I would actually want to see. I wouldn't want to see it on the Housewives, because I want my Housewives to go back to what it should be, which is like fun escapism. But if it's going to be there, that's what I want it to be, because I love Karen. I think she's great. She's funny. She's a vibe. She can read. She never goes below the belt. She looks out for people. I really like Karen. And the fact that she has an illness, she shouldn't feel shame for it. She should take accountability for getting behind the wheel and take responsibility for whatever consequences come with that. Because, whether you have an illness or not, you need to be accountable for your actions and whatever consequences come with that. But I have compassion for her, and I have compassion for people who have addiction. That must be a terrible place to be. I couldn't imagine, because then it makes it not fun. I couldn't imagine needing a drink. I've never needed a drink in my life. I've wanted to drink. Yeah, girl, let's go out. Let's get some bubbly. I want to drink tonight. I want to have fun, whatever it is. Or I'm going to watch my shows. I'm going to have a glass of wine and it's fun. I've wanted to drink, but by the grace of God, I've never needed to drink. And that's the difference between an addiction and enjoyment. Wanting is enjoying something. Needing something is being controlled by it. I couldn't imagine what it feels like to need to drink. I don't even like drinking that much anymore. I haven't had drinking in a long time. Just because I haven't wanted to, but simply because I haven't wanted to, you know? And so I can't imagine what that feels like to need something so much that the need for that thing makes that thing your God, makes that thing control you, makes that thing make you do things that you would never do, put your life in harm's way, put other people's in harm's way, you know? And that's what an addiction is. You need that fix. You need that hit. You need whatever that thing gives you. I can't imagine what that feels like, you know, by the grace of God. Because a want can easily turn into a need if you're not mindful and you don't check that. It's a slippery slope. Binge drinkers, it's a slippery slope. But for Karen, my heart goes out to her, her children. I hope she gets the help she needs. And I hope that they handle the situation in a way that is educational and compassionate. If they're doing it the way they're doing it in the OC, it won't be, because apparently, and by the OC, I mean like Shannon Bedore, but apparently they're hooting and a hollering and fighting and a fussing and Shannon's a drunk and blah, 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 blah. And I feel like it's just going to be one hot mess. So we'll see. But it's a slippery slope with anything, you know, with anything. And people will get in, just be careful. But I love Karen and I hope she comes back. Okay, Gizelle. Ugh. I need Gizelle to be fired. I'm confused as to why she gets this protection, why she gets to come back all the time. She can't read to save her life. She has the emotional capacity of a gnat. Like anytime they're talking about anything that's like emotional or meaningful, she clams up. Next, we're not going to talk about this. Rob, even when they were talking about the passing of her father, which I'm not making light of and I'm not disrespecting and I'm not making it fluff. I'm just making the point of anytime she has to talk about anything that's true to her, she can't do it. It's really bizarre. Even when they were talking about the passing of her father, she goes, I can't. She goes, Robin was there. You want to talk about it, Robin? It's like, wait, why would Robin talk about the passing of your father? But then she gets into it. And like other things, even at other reunions, I forgot what they're talking about. And she goes, we're not going to talk about it now. And Andy was like, no, we're going to talk about it now. It's the most bizarre, stunted thing I've ever seen in my life. It's really weird. Anyway, also with Gizelle, are we just going to pretend like her and that guy Jason were ever really dating? That whole storyline was a flop, made no sense. And then she like didn't care that he was seen out dating a whole other woman, but yet she's pretending like that's still her little plaything man. That thing never made any sense to me. And like, why was she not called out for that? Then she's saying she's dating some other guy. Oh, is it an athlete? But she won't say who it is. Doesn't make any sense. Has Gizelle ever had a man with her at any of the reunions? I don't think so, right? Did Jamal ever come? You know, it was sad. Her and what was the guy that she was dating? What was his name? Shelton? Something like that. But then it turned out that he was like doing lewd acts in a park and was like arrested or something for either like solicitation or doing something weird. And then he didn't want that to come out on the show, but obviously it came out on the show, so he broke up with her. Yeah, I think she really loved him. Did he ever come to a reunion? I don't know. Sherman. Thank you, Jacob. Sherman. Yeah, I think she was real. I do think that was real. I think she was really in love with Sherman. I think that was a real relationship. But then it turned out he was like a nighttime park creepster. And then he was like, well, I don't want to be on the show anymore because people are seeing like my mugshot of a nighttime park creepster. So there's that. But Gizelle, what does she bring to the show? Like, she's not even a good pot stirrer. She's boring. She takes zero accountability. Like, I still don't understand how she was so defiant when it came to Chris Bassett. Like, humble yourself. Like, thank God I'm not how Gizelle is, but if I were like her, at least I would have the capacity to be like, you know what, Chris? What I said was completely out of pocket. I embellished and I am so sorry because I know your person, I know your character, and I know that wasn't the situation. Even if she wanted to save face because she got called out for being a liar, even if she wanted to save face, she could have said, you know what, in that moment, for whatever reason, that's how I felt. It was my own trigger, and I honor my feelings. But I also understand that was never your intention. And I also understand that's not who you are. And I apologize if what I said insinuated that that is the type of person you are. That she could have even done that if she wanted to save face, because at this point, I don't think anybody with half of a brain cell believes the story she told in any type of capacity. And for her to then double down on it and then be like, well, I didn't say it, I said this, and well, I said my feelings, is also very dangerous to true victims out there, to people who have had things happen to them or almost happened to them, or have their intuition kick in, where they're like, well, I'm not going to say anything because, like, well, he didn't do anything, but he just made me feel really uncomfortable. But you know, these people on these TV, they're saying that, like, that doesn't matter, and this, so you know, it just makes it harder for, number one, women to trust, women or men, people, to trust their intuition when they feel something is off. Because if people on these platforms are being gaslit, then you start to gaslight yourself. If you are a person who actually is influenced by these people, like me personally, these people don't influence me. I see through them all day long. I like to comment on it and talk about it, but I don't look to these people as role models. They don't influence me one way or the other. But unfortunately, a lot of people do look to celebrities and reality stars and influencers and whatever as big, true influences on their life. So when they create these false narratives, when they dismiss these quote feelings, or they double down, or they do these insinuations, unfortunately, it does have a negative effect on people. You know? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So to me, Gizelle is just a very weird, dangerous person. And I don't think she even ever said, I'm sorry, Chris, that, you know, your family questioned you, or you lost jobs over this, or any of that. Or I would like to publicly say that, you know, Chris never did anything to me and maybe I misspoke. I'm going to honor my feelings, but I'm also going to honor the fact that I don't want to malign this man's character. But she couldn't even do that. She was not held accountable at all. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to tell you a big part of that, and not to victim blame, because the victim in this situation is actually Chris. To be honest with you, Chris is the victim in this situation. Because for someone to put that on you when they know they're lying through their teeth, that's horrible. That's defamation or slander or libel, whatever you want to call it. That's horrible. Because a lot of people still will believe that crap. You know, and that does something to somebody's soul who is a good, genuine person. So the true victim in the situation was Chris. But she would never admit that. She would never say that. But I do give kudos to the production, because she was like, I never said he made me. And they rolled the footage exactly what she said, that he made her go into the room and this, that, and the third. And it was also confusing because she was like, I felt so uncomfortable that this married man wanted to be alone with me. So were you scared because he was married? Were you scared because he did something? Like, who cares? I would be alone with a married man. Doesn't mean anything. Like, nothing's like, what? It made no sense. If he was single, would it be okay? If he made you feel uncomfortable? Because to be honest with you, married, engaged, or single doesn't matter if your true problem is that someone is making you feel uncomfortable. Married men assault people, single men assault people, engaged men assault people. So I'm confused how his marital status had anything to do with anything. It really made no sense. It really made no sense. So Gizelle missed me with all of it. Condolences to her father passing, that I do feel bad about. So condolences for that. She also is another type of housewife who, since she's so uninteresting, that she makes her children her storyline. Like, the girls are cute, Adore, Angel, Avery, Heaven, Jesus. Her children's names. I can't remember all their names right now. Grace, whatever it is. They're great. They're amazing. Beautiful children, super smart, super cool, great. But I don't want every scene to be with you and your kids. I don't want your primary storyline to be about your kids. I'm not watching the Real House Children of Potomac. I'm watching the Real Housewives of Potomac. I want to see adult conversation. I want to see adult issues. I want to see adult keys. Yes, you can bake your children in. Of course, that's part of being a woman or a parent, rather. Of course you can, but it's too much. It's too much. And also with the whole Wendy and Candiace were giving nasty looks when I was talking about where my child was going to school. Get over it, Gizelle. Get over it. You tried to destroy Chris Bassett's entire reputation. He also has children. Were you thinking about the ramifications on his children? That you're accusing their father of something? He also has children. But yet Wendy and Candiace are these horrible people because they were bored during one of your 1000th monologue about your girls. We get it. Your girls are cute and smart. Next. And what? What is your, talk about your life, Gizelle. I'm just over it. And how did last season she went through the, surgery? Does she have fibroids? Because that's a big one. I feel like all the housewives have fibroids or something like that. She had some type of surgery, but she didn't. But the only time she talked about it was for a half of a conversation with her daughter. Again, weird and bizarre. Gizelle can go because we don't need her. Ugh, that's really all I have to say about Gizelle. She can't read. She has no banter. She has no emotional bandwidth. She's dangerous to people's reputation. She takes zero accountability. She's not interesting to watch by any means. If you do come back, Gizelle, because you probably will, unfortunately, stop with the fake relationships. You faked it with Jason. You faked it with Jamal Bryant. Maybe just be honest about your situation. Either just say, you know what, I'm single, and just be single. Maybe date, show us your dates, pull a Sutton, get a dating coach or, a matchmaker and go out on dates, or just say I'm dating myself and go to therapy. Let us watch that. Have girls' nights with adults, not your children. And let's see what that's like. If you're going to come back, actually show us your life and make your life worth watching. But miss me with the fake relationships, miss me with the lies, and miss me with making everything about your kids. This isn't Nickelodeon. And with everything going on with Nickelodeon, thank goodness it's not. But we don't want to, this isn't Nickelodeon, okay? I don't want to show about your kids. Anyway, Robin. Robin, to me, I hope the rumor is true that she's not coming back. The fact that Juan didn't show up for her and she was still defending him, she just looked dumb and bitter and whack as hell. Just so stupid and so dumb. And just the lies, insane. Absolutely insane, the level of lies with Juan. And the thing with Juan is he doesn't even like her. I'm not even talking about love. I don't think Juan even likes Robin. He looks at her with disdain. He seems irritated by her presence. He is completely unbothered by the level of disrespect that he shows her. I just feel like they made this pact, and they've even kind of said this. that they didn't want to ever live separately because of the boys. They wanted the boys to have two parents in the home. This is the problem with that. Children are intelligent. Children are extremely empathetic. So your children know that the situation you are in is dysfunctional, unhealthy, untrue, and a hot mess. Your boys even kind of look like, why are we pretending and lying? Like, the jig is up, Robin. The boys are intelligent. They're grown. They're big and not grown because they're still children, but they're intelligent enough to understand what's going on. I'm pretty sure they have that thing called the internet. Pretty sure that's how they found out you and Juan were divorced in the first place. Remember when she first came on the show? Her and Juan was divorced, but they never told their children. And the children Googled it and found out. And that's how her children found out that they were divorced. Children are smart. With or without Google, they live in your household. And they know what's going on. And this is a PSA to all people out there like that. It is better for children to grow up in a healthy environment, whether that's at mom's house and then dad's house, or whatever the case may be, than in an unhealthy environment under the guise of keeping the family together. If you're going to, quote, stay in a relationship to keep the family together, it better be to the betterment of your children, not to the detriment of them, because you are trying to live a facade or some type of persona or social stigma that literally is a bunch of BS. Because at the end of the day, the mental and emotional and spiritual well-being of your child should be your first priority, rather than trying to just say, we live together under the same roof. Because they clearly were not sleeping in the same bed. And I don't want to say and don't tell me it's economical, because trust and believe there are a lot of people out here who probably make a lot less money than these two, even though I don't think they're rolling in it, who still make it work in separate homes, separate housings, if that is what is healthiest for the children. But I get cringe watching these two interact. I can't imagine how their children feel. And Juan even said, I think it was season 1, remember when him and Robin were fighting? And he said, if it wasn't for the boys, I would have been gone. That basically sums it all up. I think the moment the littlest one goes to college, they'll call it quits. But these are the children's formative years. And you're not fooling anybody. You're really not. So who knows? I don't know if Juan has a job yet. She said he was volunteering at the kids' school. Coaching high school. I don't know. Juan. Juan needs to go and but he probably can't. I don't know. Juan needs to go and talk to Michael Darby. Wasn't Michael Darby the one who got him that job in the first place? The coaching job that he got fired from? I don't know. I could be wrong with that. But he needs to go talk to Daddy Warbucks and get a loan or get some type of job. I don't know. But Juan, to me, doesn't even like Robin. And Robin, I would have more compassion for her if she wasn't so insufferable. Because again, why was she coming after Chris Bassett about some, screenshots or whatever? Like, why are you coming after Chris? Go after Juan. Go after your man. Like, it was so insufferable. She's just an insufferable person. Very bitter, very weird, very whack. And I know we touched on the colorism thing here. Again, I don't see the colorism aspect of it. But I will say this. Robin fake crying over she couldn't handle, and she just couldn't believe that she was being accused of being a colorist, and she just couldn't understand, and like she didn't know how to navigate. Like, Robin, shut the hell up, sweetheart. Number one, you know what colorism is. You know what featureism is. You're not stupid. We all know what's going on. Do I think that's what's happening in reality? No. But do I think Robin crying and being so like confused and so distraught and like, I just can't, I don't know how to navigate this, was performative? 100%. 100%. I don't agree that's what's going on, but I understand having the conversation about it. I understand how it could appear that way. I understand the tones of it, because we all have institutionalized and insidious isms on some level, whether it's colorism, whether it's racism, whether it's homophobia, whether it's misogyny. We all have it in us, all of us, because it is ingrained in every single society, not just America, but the world. So some type of ism or unconscious bias exists in every single human being on this planet. If you say you don't have it, you either really need some help or you're lying, because we all have it. We have varying levels of awareness, but we all have it. We all do, because we live in this society. So of course there is that level to it. But do I think it's like this outward blatant thing? No, I don't. I don't agree with Candiace. I do think that Candiace was using colorism as a way to not take accountability for herself and for her own unlikability. I don't think people not liking Candiace or her not being liked by the other women had anything to do with the color of her skin. I don't. But I also don't agree with Robin's fake performative tears being so confused as to how they're having a conversation about colorism. I think it's good to have the conversation. I think it is good to create the awareness and to have the dialogue about it and to look at it from all sides. Of course, I think it's an important conversation to have. And Robin acting like she has never heard of the word colorism in her life makes zero sense to me. That was 100% fake. Robin, you're not that good of an actress. And it was weird. It was bizarre. It was inauthentic. It was whack as hell. And I was very, very confused as to how the one time Miss Robin, I don't care Dixon, this is the thing she chooses to break down over. You're not going to break down over the fact that, you know, the entire world, your husband Juan was caught cheating with the girl from Canada, that he was caught canoodling with one of his female coaches, that he was fired because of his complicity in a student SA lawsuit from his job, and he's not working. None of that you cared about. None of that made you shed a tear. But now you're having a mental breakdown because how dare Candiace want to have a conversation about colorism, and you're so confused as to how that conversation could ever happen, and you just don't know how to navigate it. Girl, bye. Stop with the BS. You couldn't shed a tear for any of that. You couldn't shed a tear because Juan, once again, completely disrespected you and left you holding the bag and didn't even show up at the reunion for you and pretty much effectively got you fired from the show. Because I do think Robin and pretty much the entire cast was kind of put on notice. You know how Andy at the beginning of the reunion was like, so we're going to set an intention, which basically meant if you want to come back and collect this Bravo check, y'all need to start being real. That's basically what he said. And that's why Karen was shook and was like, yes, I have high hopes for all the women. We can do it. We can do it. Because Karen is basically like, I still want my 15 minutes of fame. I still want this Bravo check. Y'all better fall in line because I want to come back to the show. That's basically what happened, okay? And the fact that Juan didn't show up and the fact that Robin was still lying through her teeth, I think that's why Robin got fired. But she couldn't muster a care to give. It turns out I 100% don't care. You couldn't care about getting fired from your job, from all of that, but you're up here crying about colorism? Girl, bye. Girl, bye. Anyway, and to be honest with you, she even could have said how, like, because remember, like, in the beginning seasons with Katie, there was conversations about colorism then. When and Robin was like, and Gizelle, no, like, we're proud Black women, we're 100% Black, blah 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 blah. Like, they were going off the deep end about being proud Black women. So it's like, you know, that there is conversations about, you know, color and shade and Blackness and what that means, and how that shows up and how people interpret it and all this stuff. You know, the conversation exists. You could have even said that. You could have said, you know what, I know colorism exists. I'm a proud Black woman, and this is what it is, and blah, blah, blah. She could have said that. But the performative crap, girl, bye. Girl, bye. Anyway, okay, and we already talked about Nneka, and we already know how I feel about her. So, yeah, there is that. All right, let's watch a couple of clips, and then we'll talk about it. All right, you guys. But before we do that, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If you're having fun, then yeah, it's a free way to support the show. You know, a like or a subscribe or share it. It's a free way. So before we dive into our videos, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Okay, love ya. You can go back with Juan Dixon. But this is the clip I was referring to earlier, you guys. When it seems like Nneka is just watching the show, just like everybody else. Again, I don't think she spoke in any of the first two parts. Secondly, she said she wasn't engaging on social media. Now, you don't need to go all the way down to hell how Candiace does it with social media and her tweets, but you do need to be engaging. You do need to be doing reels and podcasts and, you know, commenting and all of that stuff. That's a part of the job, not just for the show, but for your own personal brand that you should be building given the platform. So you should be using social media. So Nneka, girl, you're dropping the ball everywhere. And like I said before, her husband is rubbing me all the wrong way. Don't make me have to speak for you. No, sir. Sit yourself down. And I agree with Nneka. She goes, don't do that, or you can go where Juan Dixon is. No, sir, you're not going to get up here and speak on behalf of a woman in other women's faces. Please sit down and have self-receipts. And her husband seems like a weirdo. I'm sorry, he does. He gives me weird vibes. He seems very weird. Very, very misogynistic, to the point where I'm like, is it that, do you hate women, or are you hiding? Are you overcompensating for something else maybe that is going on? But he was so misogynistic. Was he the one? Or no, you know what? I might be. No, I'm confusing him with, I'm sorry. Everything I said up until the misogyny part, I still agree with. Keep you're a grown man, sit down and be quiet. Don't try and cuss out women. Don't try and step to women. That I stay with. The misogyny part, I'm confusing him with the Married to Medicine new girl's husband. He was super misogynistic too. All right, let's watch another clip.
I've never.
I'm shook. I cannot wait to see what Gordon has to say. But with that clip, listen, why was Robin grilling Chris more than she has ever grilled Juan, when Juan is your whole fake husband? I still want to see a marriage certificate between Robin and Juan. I really want to see one, because I don't believe it. I think they had a ceremony wherever they were, but I need to see a certificate, because as Gizelle told it, his name ain't on the house. So that house is in Robin's and Robin's mother's name, not in Juan's name. So I need to see a marriage certificate before I believe that. But I love how Chris just cleared Gizelle all the way. And how do we know Gizelle didn't pay the woman off? Now, do I think Gizelle was behind this woman saying that she had an inappropriate relationship with Chris? No. I think this woman was just crazy. I don't believe her. I don't think that she had an inappropriate relationship with Chris Bassett and she ended up no longer being pregnant by him. She came out and said it was all a lie and that she never met him. I think that it's a mentally unwell person, not even like a clout chaser type of person. There are people out here who are mentally unwell. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in a genuine way. There are people who are mentally unwell. And that's kind of what it seemed like to me. Like this woman maybe was obsessed, and she was mentally unwell and making things up and all that. It seemed more that than anything else. But I do understand Candiace's and Chris's questioning and paranoia about it. And again, justice for Chris Bassett. You know, now he's a target and being maligned about everything. So justice for him. So we'll see about that. But what did you guys think about that clip? Put it down below. And let's watch. I think I have a couple more. So let's see, maybe one more. Again, like I said before, when it comes to Chris, I would never let anybody who is beneath me and never could be me knock me from any type of position. And what I mean by that was when he was like, oh, like they didn't want me around, so I didn't come around. Hell no. Why are you taking marching orders from Gizelle and funky, dry Robin? Never that. I would, if I was Chris, I would have doubled down on I would have been at every event, everywhere, every single time with my wife, having a good old time. Every time you would have saw me every single scene, everywhere you could be. I would be like, hi, me again, hi, me again. Never. Who the hell is Gizelle? Who the hell is Robin? No person like that could ever knock me from my position. No, thank you. Also, like I said before, why is Robin grilling Chris more than she does Juan? Like, she was like, oh, I checked his phone, but Juan deletes all of his messages. So there wasn't any messages because he always cleans out his phone. But yet you're worrying about Chris and screenshots from a woman who is mentally unwell and admitted that she made everything up. That's the person you're choosing to grill? Robin, please shut up and go away and have several seats. Team Chris all the way. I'm shook though. Like, what do we think Gordon is going to say? Like, Mia's already crying. He's crying. Do we have any spoilers? Like, if you know what Gordon is going to say, put it in the chat box. Like, spoil away. All right. I think I have one more clip that we can watch together. And then I have a couple more stories. Okay. I had enough of Gizelle. But again, she can't be accountable for anything. Like, she can't say, let's just say, give her benefit of the doubt. She said Wendy's mom was evil, but she genuinely did not know that her mother was in the hospital. Again, girl, just say, I didn't know your mother was in the hospital, but I am so sorry that your mother was sick and she was in the hospital. And when I said that, she was there. And I also apologize for calling your mother evil. She never even acknowledged that. You know, if you're going to call somebody's mother evil, whether that person's mother is in the hospital or not, you should apologize for that. Now, do I think Wendy's mother is evil? No. But do I believe what Nneka said about the shrines? Yeah, I do. Now, I don't know why Gizelle was calling Wendy's mother evil. I'm not sure. I don't know if it had to do with the shrines. I don't know if it had to do with something else. I don't know why she said that because I don't remember her saying it, but I know she did say it clearly because that's what they're talking about. So I don't remember the context of it. But again, if you're calling somebody's mother evil, just acknowledge it and be like, you know what? I'm sorry I called your mother evil and I take it back. She couldn't even do that. It was so stupid. So dumb. Oh, Sharon said, I think he's going to say he's sick again. Yeah, I hope it's not true, but that's what I think. I agree. I do think they're going to say you guys probably, I think that's a good guess, Sharon. On a gut level, that feels and sounds right. I hope it's not true, but I think they're going to say it again. And maybe that's also a part of his depression. being diagnosed again or something going on and he's sick. And that also goes to Mia being cold-hearted. I think Mia is just trying to leave Gordon in the dust, get back with this ink guy who's just using her and wants to just, be free and live her best life and screw him. That's what I think. I mean, it's sad though. It's really sad. Okay. Let's see if I want to do another story or what. Did you guys hear this rumor about Monique joining the show? Or people are asking Monique to come back to the show. Let's see what Miss Monique has to say. So this is according to Reality Blurb. It says Monique Samuels responds to fans asking her to return to Rohop after Candiace's exit from the show. See her post and let's talk. The reunion of The Real Housewives of Potomac hasn't even aired yet, and there's already major casting news. It has been confirmed that Candiace Dillard Bassett will not be returning for season 9. After the announcement, many Rohop fans felt that Monique Samuels could return now that Candiace won't be there. Fans will recall that Monique and Candiace don't get along. They even had a pretty big altercation on the show, which is one of the reasons Monique left. Since Housewives, Monique starred on Love and Marriage DC for a short while. Now she hosts a morning radio show and still has her essential oil line. Fast forward to now, and Monique is making no secret of the fact that she does not want to return to Rohop. After the news of Candiace leaving the show came out, she took to Instagram to post a selfie that contained the caption, "Nope, don't ask." It became clear to fans that what she meant by that. She also included a link to where people can hear her on the radio. And that's what's on the screen. Of course, this isn't the first time Monique has been candid about not wanting to do reality TV. As mentioned, she briefly starred in Carlos King's Love and Marriage DC on the OWN network. However, she discussed how hesitant she was to do the show and how she had PTSD from reality TV. It wasn't long before it was announced that she was leaving the show. Monique has also previously said that she turned down doing the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip because she didn't want the toxicity and because she feels like a different person than people are expecting. Of course, Monique's life has also changed since leaving Rohop. She and Chris divorced in 2023. Though fans may never see Monique on reality TV again, it seems she stays active on social media. Now, for me, I don't need Monique back on Rohop. I'm torn when it comes to Monique. When she was on The Real Housewives of Potomac, I loved her. I really liked her. I thought she was a vibe. I loved her and Chris and their life and their sweet kids. When she was on Love and Marriage DC, she seemed like a completely different person. She seemed very cold, very bitter, very condescending, and very mean to Chris, her husband, well, ex-husband now. Very deprecating and degrading. It seemed like she was not in love with him, to me, it seemed like Monique, not like a Mia, because I think Mia's intentions were always wrong, but I feel like with Monique, she kind of was no longer sexually attracted to Chris, and I feel like once she was able to stand on her own financially, she kind of no longer was attracted to Chris, if that makes sense. And so because she just no longer really liked him, nothing he was doing was going to satisfy her or make her happy because she was just already out of it, And like just watching her and watching their dynamic was really tough on the show. 1 second, you guys. Okay, I'm back, which is like really toxic. So, and also like if we're doing recasting on the show, my number one thing is I want new people on the show. I want fresh faces. I want new people. I want married people. I don't want people going on the show to get divorced. I don't want people going on the show that are in toxicity. I want to see people who are married. I want to see people who are happy and people who are thriving. I don't think Monique is a fit. And I think that Potomac itself needs a reboot. Nothing against Monique personally, but I'm also tired of just recycling people. Like if somebody has been fired, if somebody has quit the show, if somebody has been put on pause, let's just leave it there and let's get some freshness back, you know? So we'll see. And justice for Chris Samuels. Who knows? But let me know what you guys think. You know, put it down below. Like, would you want Monique back, or do you think her time on the show is up and let's get some fresh blood about the situation? And I actually don't believe that Monique and Candiace don't get along. What I think happened with their fight was a couple of things. One, I think Monique was going through her own stuff at the time. I also think Candiace was going through her own stuff at the time. I also think there was a lot of egging on and gaslighting and pitting people against each other from Gizelle and Ashley and Robin. And also, I think the fact that Candiace was supposed to be Monique's really good friend never told her about all the girls getting together and saying, oh, next season, let's go after Monique and her family and her husband and the paternity of her child. And Candiace never said, hey, sis, listen, these girls are plotting to take you and your family down. Candiace told Karen, and Karen was the one who told Monique. And so that kind of put a ridge between Candiace and Monique. And as we know, Candiace is a pick-me. She doesn't have a lot of self-esteem. So when Monique was being colder to her and withdrawing, Candiace then, started with that mouth with Monique. I thought we were cool. I thought we were friends. Very similar to what's going on with her and Robin. The moment that Candiace kind of feels like she's losing your validation, she will strike out and lash out because she needs it so much. I actually think these two women had a lot of love for each other and a lot of friendship, but they let outside forces pin each other down and tear them apart, divide and conquer. And I think that their friendship and their physical altercation was sort of a culmination of a lot of different factors. I don't think it was just Candiace's mouth. And I don't think it's that Monique is this crazy, violent person who can't handle her temper. I think that it was a perfect storm of something popping off at some point. And I agree 100% with what Candiace said when Gizelle at the reunion was like, I had your back in season 5 with what happened with you and Monique fighting. And finally, Candiace had the clarity of mind and the common sense, because I was saying this from day one, Gizelle does not like you, Candiace. She just hates Monique more. She's not defending you, Candiace. She's offending Monique. And it was so refreshing for Candiace to finally see that. And Candiace said, you weren't defending me, you just hated Monique. And that's exactly what it was. Those women, Robin and Ashley and Gizelle and all of them, they were not defending Candiace because they actually cared about Candiace. They were only doing it because they wanted Monique out, because they hated Monique. And again, like I said before, they hated Monique because they were jealous of her. The moment she had a husband, the moment she had, oh, you don't have a home? Oh, I have 4 homes. The moment she had money, the moment she had a man, they couldn't stand her because Monique had everything. And Monique is a beautiful woman. Hate her or love her, she is a beautiful woman. And at the time, she was married to a man who loved her. She had her beautiful kids. They had money. They had homes. They were set. She had everything that they did not have. And when I say this, I also want to be very clear. When I talk about them being jealous of Candiace because she's married, of Monique because she's married and has money and all of this stuff, and they're jealous because they're bitter and they're negative and all of that stuff. I want to be very clear when I say this. Having a husband or a wife or the ring, whatever you want to call it, having money and the cars and the status and all that, all of those things are great, but they don't give you value and worth. So I don't want anybody to feel or to think that if you don't have X, Y, and Z, somehow you're not good enough, or you're unlovable, or you're not worthy, or you're a failure, or you're far behind, or something's wrong with you. I don't want you to think that, because that's the type of thinking that breeds people like Gizelle and Robin, that breeds people who have to tear somebody else down in order to feel good about themselves. Whether you are single, whether you're engaged, whether you're married, whatever, whether you're gay or straight, bi, trans, purple, yellow, polka dot, pink, I don't care. None of that makes you worthy or unworthy. You just simply are. And everything else is just nice to have. They're just choices in life. They're experiences to enjoy. So I want to be very clear at that, because sometimes, people can feel, well, if I don't have all of these things, then there's something wrong with me and I'm not good enough and blah, 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 blah. Because those things don't give you self-esteem. Those things don't give you self-validation. Those things don't give you self-worth. That's an inside job. That's why you have Candiace, right? Who has all of those things. Beautiful woman, very intelligent, supportive family, money, a husband, a career, but yet at her core, she's still a pick-me. She's still up on this couch having breakdowns over two women who don't even like her, not wanting to be cool with her. So if having all of those things gave you that internal validation, then people like that would have it all. So I say all that to say this: get your value and your self-worth and your love and your esteem of who you are and your identity from your inherent worthiness, not from anything outside of you. Look at Monique. She was the total package, beautiful, successful, loving husband. And now she, on the show with Love in DC, was mad and bitter, and now she's divorced. And I'm not saying that divorce is some horrible thing, but again, what I'm saying is you can still check all the boxes, but if you haven't worked out your inside game and loving yourself and your relationship to who you are, none of those things will make you happy. Right? So that's what I mean by that. But then you also have to be clear on, does this person not like me because of something I'm doing? That's just self-awareness, where you can say, well, maybe this person isn't cool with me. Am I being abrasive? Because it's not always the other person projecting. Sometimes you are being a jerk. Sometimes you are being a bee. Sometimes, sometimes you are the problem, and that's okay. You can have self-awareness too and say, well, if this person isn't checking for me because of X, Y, and Z, is there something in me that I could improve on or change or evolve? That's called self-development. That's self-growth. That's self-awareness. But you need to have the emotional intelligence and also the discernment to know the difference between the two. The difference between this person is projecting their insecurities onto me, and that is not my problem, and it has nothing to do with me, versus this person is giving me constructive feedback on how I can move in a better, healthier way. Because everybody who has an opinion on you or feedback about you is not a hater and is not a troll. It could just be an opportunity for yourself to grow. So you have to have your own level of discernment to decide who is giving me constructive feedback that can help me grow versus who is just being a hater and a troll, and that's their own stuff that they need to work out themselves. So yeah. So that's kind of what I feel about that. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Should we bring Monique back? Should we not? She said she's not coming back. So there's that. Okay. Let's talk about Gordon and Mia. It's messy, messy, messy. So Mia Thornton reveals husband drained their bank account when she tried to leave the marriage. In the latest episode of RoHop, Mia Thornton shared her money issues with now estranged husband Gordon Thornton. Mia revealed that when she first tried to divorce Gordon, he drained all of their bank accounts, leaving her with nothing and trapped nowhere to turn. Truth be told, the first time that I hired a divorce attorney, Gordon emptied my bank account all the way to zero and said I can't leave him, Mia shared. It seemed that Gordon, like many Real Housewives husbands before him, was trying to keep control of Mia and ensure their power dynamic stayed in place. For Mia, this was no laughing matter. Mia continued, no man or female should ever do that to anybody to try to make them stay. That's abusive. I lived my whole childhood, which I had no control over, was combative. I'm not living a combative life. This is the thing, Mia. When you go into a marriage as a transaction, you can't be pissed when a person is transactional. Meaning this. Out of her own mouth, she said she married him for his money. She said it, remember? If you married him for his money, aka the transaction, if you give me money, I will be with you. That's the transaction of it all. You can't be pissed at him when he is then transactional, meaning I am no longer going to be with you, and him saying, well, now I'm taking all the money. If you started it transactional, he's ending it transactional. I'm not saying that's healthy. I'm not saying that's right. But you have to be honest that that is the dynamic that you signed up for. And that's what you said yourself. You thought he had all of this money. You thought that this, that, and the third. You know, you married him for the money, all of that stuff. So now you're complaining that you are in a transactional relationship, and now you're saying that him being transactional is wrong. I don't know. Is it wrong? Or is he just playing by the rules that you agreed to and set up in the first place? Because like I said before, I think Gordon was spending all of this money and doing all of these crazy sex things. It seemed more to me like it was an old man trying to please and keep his young wife. I'm going to buy your love. I'm going to buy your affection. I'm going to be so cool about everything. You won't have a reason to leave. You want money? Here it is. You want cars? Here it is. You want, houses and penthouses? Here it is. You want, crazy sex? Here it is. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to throw everything at you so you have no reason to leave me. So then now that you're leaving him, you're mad because he's taking it back. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about it? Okay. While the Real Hop couple attempted to work through their marital issues by attending intensive therapy sessions, it did not seem that Gordon was willing to put in the work. Instead, he seemed to gloss over the real issues in their marriage. In fact, during their therapy session in the most recent episode of Real Hop, Gordon squeezed and held onto Mia's hand for dear life, despite Mia showing physical signs of discomfort as she discussed their issues. Exactly. She is over you because there's no more money, and you are holding on to her for dear life because you don't feel enough on your own. Again, it always goes back to the self-worth and the self-love component. He doesn't feel good enough as a man that without these flashy things that he would be worthy of love or her love or love, whatever you want to call it. So he's holding on that anxious, needy, desperate energy. Because if you leave me, then what does that say about me? Right? Very sad. And I also want to be clear about this, that just because someone wants to marry someone who has money does not mean that their relationship or marriage is transactional. And it also does not mean that that person is a gold digger. And it also does not mean that that person is just marrying someone for their money. There's a core difference. When you have the intentionality of these are my values and my standards that I want to have in my romantic partnership, and one of those things is financial stability, because that makes me feel safe. And I want a partner who makes me feel safe. I want a partner who I can entrust with my children to feel safe if you choose to have children. And you want stability in your life and reliability, right? So when you lead with, these are the things that I value, and based on my value, these are my standards, that's totally fine. That's not transactional. That's being intentional with who you choose to build your life with, right? Versus, well, how much money you got, and I'm going to pop it open and we can do this. And it's only based on that. It's the intention behind it. That's why there's a saying, if you marry for money, you'll be paying for the rest of your life. I personally don't think that there is anything wrong with valuing feeling safe and secure and stable financially, because that bleeds into every other aspect of your life. If you are stressed out financially, that stress will poison every other aspect of your life. That's just what it is, okay? I don't think there's anything wrong with valuing feeling safe and secure and stable within your financial world as a foundation for the rest of your relationship. So then you date intentionally. You're not dating a man for his money, but you're dating because there's this safety in it. Because there's a lot of men who don't have money, or women. I'm not being sexist, or woman, whatever the case is. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think it always comes from the place of the intentionality behind it. I also don't think there's anything wrong with transactional relationships either. It wouldn't be for me personally. Personally, I lead all my relationships from my values, whether it's romantic or platonic or familial or friendships. I lead from my values. What do I value in my life as a person and as people in it? Therefore, based on my values, these are the standards I create. And from those standards, then I can invite people into my life, and I can also add value to them. I lead from value. But it's not everybody in this world doesn't have to live their life the way I choose to. So if somebody wants to lead their life based on transactions, I'll give you this if you give me that. As long as you're paying, I'm giving, or whatever the case is. As long as you're giving, I'm paying. Whatever the case is, do you. But don't play dumb and don't play victim and don't act stupid when the bill comes due, because your relationship is built on a transaction. So Mia trying to play dumb in her marriage, oh my God, he's so controlling. Oh my God, he took the money back. Why are you playing dumb when you built your marriage on a transaction? I choose to build my life on my values. Think about friendships. I value loyalty and safety. Therefore, my standard is I need friends who are honest and trustworthy. So that's just how I live my life. People don't got to live their life that way, but don't act stupid when the bill comes due, Mia. So I want to know what you guys think about that. Let me know. Put it down below. And then, do you want me to come back next season? Do you think she should come back? Or do you think we've seen enough of messy Mia? Like, we're tired of it. We're sick of it. Give somebody else a chance. We're over it. Let me know. So put it down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. So with that, you guys, I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and chat for a little bit. I've been talking forever. And then I'm also going to try and take some of your candy cane questions and comments.